Hi there, my name is Ron Rogers, and this presentation is titled Still Grounded? Yep, no aerobatics for me. Now, it's not my fault, okay? I'm 73 going on 74, but I'm still good for plus or minus 4 Gs, as good as I ever was. But the problem, unfortunately, and I've had several of you ask me about it, so that's why I'm doing this little update here, the problem is still with the airplane. Now, here's how we left it a few months ago. They got it all taken apart. Now, I can fly an airplane with very little wing. There's a picture of me after having flown an airplane with very little wing. But it does have a wing. But you gotta go very fast, okay? Well, this won't work as a lifting body. It just won't. There's not a lift off that body that you can get with that little 180 horsepower engine. So we got a problem there. Irregardlessly of the situation. Now, you're probably saying, wait, irregardlessly isn't a word. No, it's not. Regardless is the word. But a lot of people use irregardless. And I figure, if you're going to destroy a word, if you're going to kill it, you need to absolutely beat it to death. So that's why I like the word irregardlessly. But okay, back to the story. And just a little refresh here. Waco had a service bulletin on the Great Lakes. They found they had a few cracks here. When they stiffened up the fuel tank, which was causing a problem in the center section, they stiffened it up with plywood. Well, the good old problem when you do that, it transferred loads to other places. And unfortunately, it transferred loads to the rear ribs here, which you can see with the arrow there. And they got a few cracks in there, they noticed. So they decided they had to beef it up. So that's what they did. They took my center section apart. There's the fuel tank out. They beefed it up. And this is kind of where I'm left. The center section now is covered. It hasn't been primed or painted or anything, but it's got that work to be done on it. So right now, everything's sitting in the hangar, nice and warm, and waiting for the paint shop. I recently talked to the Waco people, and they told me I'm number 4 in line. And I go, because they only got a couple of people to do the paint. And the paint is a very intricate process, especially if they get some of these people who like really elaborate paint jobs. So that can take a while. But anyway, they told me I'd have it by the spring. There wouldn't be a problem. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed and hoping it's good. Of course, you may say, well, are you wanting to fly it right now? Okay, those of you who know, I live in Illinois. Okay. Illinois has not been wonderful this winter. I don't fly in the winter. Maybe I'd find a good day, if we get a thaw like we do. It might get warm enough. 40 degrees is probably pretty good. I've flown it down in that temperature, and the heater actually works pretty well. My left knee gets very hot, but it's not too bad, even an open cockpit airplane. But we had highs that were in the minus single digits. That was the high. Okay, you gotta love Illinois. Except I'm not excited to go to some state that has cockroaches bigger than my hand. But anyway, I digress. So, okay, we had the horrible cold that nobody wanted to fly. And so it gets warm. So now we're up in the 30s and 40s. Well, we got all that snow. Guess what happens? We have had fog for the last week. So that's not going to work. And right now, Waco has a backlog on demonstration flights. If you want to sell the people an airplane, they want to see what it flies like first if they've never flown in the Great Lakes. And of course, Waco has made a lot of improvements to the Great Lakes that make it a lot nicer than some of the old versions that were built back in the 80s. So it's a lot nicer airplane now. It's a little bit wider, more comfortable, and they made a lot of nice enhancements. They really done a good job. I got to give them the utmost credit. The Waco Corporation, they are really putting a lot of effort in this airplane. They are meticulously built. I've gone up there and I've talked to the guy, a former cabinet worker who was working on my wings and building them up, and it was just a joy to talk to him because you could really see the attention to detail and the devotion he put in there. But that's an issue I'm going to bring up in just a minute too, because it actually caused a slight bit of a problem here. But there's another problem. Not just talking about the cold weather. You see that platinum blonde guy in the front seat there with the cool glasses and the mustache? Yep, that's me. This was several years ago when I got my first intro ride into the Great Lakes, and it was fun. I had a good time, but unfortunately, 21GL does not exist anymore. It kind of got balled up in a landing accident, and I'll talk about that in just a second. Actually, I got a whole video on the couple of airplanes they lost in training accidents out of Battle Creek there. But anyway, this airplane no longer exists. The other factor is, and this is one of the Junkers that they're developing. They've got some really cool airplane that are coming along for the light sport market, and this is really cool. But there is an issue with this airplane. I'll tell you right now. Well, this picture, not the airplane. I'm sure the airplane is great. There's an issue with this picture. You see, it's got an open cockpit, and there's snow on the ground. Okay, well, it's got German markings. Okay, if you Germans want to fly this airplane in that kind of weather, God bless you. You can do it, but I guess I'm too old for that. I'm not that excited about it, especially since it's kind of hard to move. I have enough trouble moving my 310 around with a golf cart I use to pull it when I've got ice on the ramp. I can't move the thing. The golf cart doesn't have enough traction. I'm kind of stuck. But anyway, I digress. This is how I want it. I want it like it was. This is my hangar. I've got two hangars. I got the 310 in the big hangar. This is my little hangar. And it's kind of interesting here. If you notice, it's just a bit tight. That's the trouble with a biplane. Actually, a Cessna 195 will fit in this hangar. I tried that. I was thinking of buying one of those at one time. The Great Lakes just barely fits. And I'll tell you, I measured this thing every which way from Sunday to make sure it would fit because, I'm buying the airplane and I don't have a hangar except this one to put it in. So I want to make sure it works. And fortunately it did. I kind of did some modifications to the hangar to give me a little more clearance here in the sides, and it works out fine. But this is kind of the way I like it. I've got some nice comfortable chairs out there to set in. I've got a little cooler out there with a microwave, and in the back by the rudder there, that's actually an air conditioner. I can keep the thing air conditioned. Of course, as long as I don't open the big doors, it's not that powerful of an air conditioner. But like I was saying, the Waco Corporation, the Waco Aircraft Company is a great bunch of guys, a bunch of professionals who do just a good job. In fact, I would have gotten the YMF because it's a round engine, except there's a little note in the flight manual that says if you go into inverted flight, the engine may very well not restart. Well, I thought, okay. I asked him about that. I go, well, yeah, I've had a Citabra that didn't have an inverted system, and whenever I went negative G, the engine quit. But when I rolled back, it started. And they go, no, that's not the problem. It's not the inverted fuel system. It's the fact that it's got a float carburetor, and the float might stick, and you roll out, you may not get the engine restarted. And I go, nah, I'm not too excited about doing aerobatics in an airplane where I might kill the engine kind of permanently and do dead stick landings. I'm not excited about that. So I decided I'll get the Great Lakes. And the Great Lakes, before the Pitts came along, was a really premier aircraft. And in fact, if you know about Tex Rankin, who holds the record for doing consecutive outside loops, I think it's 160 or something like that. Tex, your record is safe with me. Don't worry about that. But anyway, I digress. I do that a lot. That's what happens when you get old. You can digress a lot. But here's off their website. Now, guys, you got to update this. You got to talk to the guy who runs your web, because you got this picture. 21GL doesn't exist anymore, and it's kind of embarrassing, to have it up there when this airplane's kind of got balled up in a training accident. But here's a page, and I don't get residuals on this, unfortunately, but I am on here 5 times. There's 727KR, that's 727, one of my favorite airplanes. KR is my wife's initials, and next to it is me flying in the air. That's when I was getting checked out and taking delivery of it, and I've had a lot of fun flying since then in it. And over in the left portion, that's my nice advanced cockpit. This is a 1929 certified aircraft built in 2020, and I've got the fancy avionics there, and I've got an attitude indicator because I've gotten into inadvertent IFR a few times flying VFR when I was kind of pushing it. I don't kind of push things anymore, but I decided, it wasn't that much to put on the fancy avionics package, and I decided I want, if I happen to get an inadvertent encounter, I want to at least have an attitude indicator. And there next to it is the cockpit picture from the back, and the last one is my brake picture. Okay. Now, one thing I'd like to point out. Now their website is great here, but I gotta give my little pilot comment here. All right, you see this? This is a new aircraft. They actually interviewed me and a bunch of other pilots on, what do you think our next airplane should be? And I don't know if I gave them good advice at all, but this is what they come up with the Yunker's A50, an already developed airplane, and they made it for a light sport aircraft, which is really kind of cool. And well. The situation here, there, you see the guy, the pilot there in the leather jacket. Okay, he's young, that's cool. He's got dark hair. I used to have dark hair. He's got a mustache, that's good. The beard, that's overkill. You don't need that. But you got a nice airplane like this, and some beautiful woman will just come up next to you, drape her arm over you, and just look like, hey, you're the coolest guy ever. Of course, the only trouble is, in my case, by the time I could afford to buy an airplane that was new, my hair was the color of the airplane, and I'm not going to even talk about the wrinkled skin in this case. But one thing I might mention, here's their website again, and there's the GL. Guys, you need to really update this. But the point here is that you go looking around the website, and I couldn't find a price list anywhere. And I guess it's kind of the thing, like, if you have to ask. But there was an interesting little development here. They've gone through a few CEOs, and the gentleman they have now is from Germany, and I think he's really kind of getting the company in shape, because they realized, or they didn't realize at the time, that they really didn't know how much it costs to build this little sucker here. There's a lot of labor-intensive work in there, and I got this airplane for just around $300,000, which is, that's not an insignificant chunk of change at all. But I found out from one of the individuals there who is since departed that they probably lost $100,000 on my airplane, selling it to me. I got it for $300,000. It cost him $400,000 to build it, and now they've got the price around $500,000 or so. So they've gotten a little pricey. But then again, if you're the kind of guy that's got that kind of money, you probably don't care that much. Again, here's me checking it out. I've got one of the deals I did when I bought the airplane, signing the contract. I got them to give me a couple hours of instruction because I just wanted to get up to speed, and it was going to be over a year before I could even get my airplane, because they had they've always had a decent wait list on these airplanes, and they take a good 3 to 4 months to actually build one from start to finish. So you got to kind of get in line and wait till it's your turn. So I wanted to get a little bit of experience before and just kind of have something to do in that year that I wasn't going to be flying it. So they got me a few flights in 21 GL here. And there's another picture of the airplane back when I was getting ready to go on my flight here. It had a very nice paint job. Really love that paint job. And of course, you can pull down the accident report that goes into the details, everything that happened there, which is very unfortunate, of course. But here is where I want to get back to. Get my airplane up in the air, start having fun again. Get it out of this little corner in the hangar there. Get the thing put back together. Get it back in my hangar where it's nice and it's warm and it's comfortable. And there's the last little shot, and see that yellow arrow there? That's showing a little bit of space. I've got about 5 inches there or so. And they actually had my mechanic come out, and he says, I'm gonna give you an idea here that's gonna save you here, because it has 2 main tires there. And he says, if one goes flat, that's going to pivot it up, and your wing is going to impact on the bottom of the hangar there, and you could damage it. So I put blocks under the wheels there, so if one tire goes flat, it's not going to go sideways on me. But anyway, that's the update. Waiting in line for paint. Then hopefully it shouldn't be too much to put it back together, because the thing is all ready to go. I guess I'm going to do the first flight on it once it's reassembled and everything like that, and we'll do a quick checkout to make sure it's all properly rigged and flies straight and stuff like that, because there is a variance on the flying and landing wires on their tension, so that kind of adjusts the twist. So I'm not too excited about that. I don't want to have to spend a whole bunch of time when I get it again getting it fine-tuned, because once I got it from the factory, the pilot who flew off several times getting it all adjusted did a really good job, and it flies very nicely because except for the elevator, which is off the horizontal stabilizer there is no trim. That's the only trim you got in pitch. No rudder or no roll trim. So if it's not nicely configured, you're going to have to be holding control. So that's not what you want. Anyway, that's the story. That's where we are on it. Still waiting out the winter. You know, I'm sitting here nice, happy. It's cold outside. It's snowy. It's foggy. I wouldn't be flying anyway. I just looked out the window and give you the weather report there. So I wouldn't be flying. So anyway, that's the situation. They got some time to get it back together. I'm hoping for the best. And because, you know, it's a short flying season in Illinois. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the update.